Every story you're about to hear is true, and every one of them ends with the same thought. I shouldn't have been there. My mom saw me in the backyard, while I was miles away. This happened during my junior year of high school. I had just gotten off the bus a couple of stops early to go hang out at my friend S' house. We were in his basement, playing video games, when his mom comes downstairs. She'd had just gotten a call from my mom, who sounded angry and panicked, and was demanding I come home immediately. When I walked through my front door, the atmosphere was incredibly tense. My mom, my sister, and my sister's friend were all sitting in the living room, and they all looked completely shaken. My mom immediately started grilling me, asking where I'd been and what I was doing after school. I told her I went straight to my friend's house, but she just wasn't buying it. Eventually, she got frustrated and sent me to my room. A few minutes later, my sister came in and started asking me the same questions all over again. That's when I finally asked her what on earth was going on. She told me that while I was gone, my mom was upstairs and heard a man's voice calling my name from outside her bedroom window. When she looked out into the backyard, she saw my sister, her friend, and a shirtless man standing right behind my sister's friend, hugging her. My mom was absolutely convinced that the man was me. She rushed outside to confront me, but by the time she got there, it was just my sister and a friend. No man, no footsteps. Nothing. She accused them of covering for me, thinking I was hiding somewhere nearby, but they swore they had been alone the entire time. Now, here's the part my mom didn't know. My sister's friend had come over that day because she was really struggling. It was the 1-year anniversary of her fiancé's suicide, and his name was the same as mine. My mom had no idea about any of this when she heard that voice, or when she saw that man in the backyard. But she swears, to this day, that what she saw was real. I almost died 3 times in 6 days, and then something followed me into my dreams. This is a true story. Late last December, just before Christmas, my friend and I were driving home after our final exam. We stopped at a red light on a 4-lane road. Suddenly, I heard tires screech and another car slammed into the rear right side of mine. We pulled over, exchanged information, and started taking photos. I stepped into the left lane to get a better angle, then my friend called me back to unlock the trunk. The moment I stepped back, a distracted driver drifted into the exact lane I had just been standing in, missing me by less than a foot at 70 kilometers per hour. 2 days later, we went paintballing. Between games, everyone was in the lobby with masks off. I was leaning against a wall when my friend asked to borrow money. I leaned to the side to hand him my wallet splat. A paintball slammed into the wall exactly where my head had been. The kid across the room had accidentally fired his marker. At that speed, a shot to the eye could have blinded or killed me. 2 days later, we were out drinking. I walk fast, so I kept stopping to wait for my friends. This time, I decided not to. I walked ahead, then suddenly stopped to shout back that I'd meet them inside. That's when I heard an engine scream. A speeding Porsche crashed into a building 10 meters in front of me, hitting the wall at a right angle. The engine collapsed. Windows exploded. If I hadn't stopped, I would have been between the car and the building. 2 days later, Boxing Day morning, I had a nightmare. In the dream, I knew someone was trying to kill me. I ran into my house, tied a rope to the front door, locked everything, and called 911. The operator told me no officers were available. Then I noticed the rope had been cut. Every sound in the house turned on at once: TV, radio, kettle, shower. And I saw someone's foot step onto the stairs. I woke up screaming, soaked in sweat. The first word out of my mouth wasn't fear. It was a name: Slenderman. It's not something I tell people often, but when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I woke up too loud, banging on my bedroom window. At first I thought it was just the wind and tried to go back to sleep, but then I started hearing footsteps in my room. My bedroom was big enough to walk around in front of my bed, and that's exactly what it sounded. Like slow footsteps circling me. I tried to convince myself it was just the house settling, the kind of noises houses make at night. I used to sleep with the radio on, and at that exact moment it started playing a very depressing song. I don't remember the name of it, but even today, if I hear it, I get chills. The room started feeling colder, not normal, cold and naturally cold. I was terrified. I decided to run to my parents' room down the hall, but as I passed through the area where the footsteps had been, The air became so cold I could see my breath. I froze for a second, and that's when I heard a voice say, "I'm lost." I bolted down the hallway, ran into my parents' room, crawled under their bed, and cried myself to sleep. The man in her doorway never existed. A former teacher once told me this story, and she swears it's true. When she was a child, she shared a bedroom with her younger sister. One night, while lying in bed, her sister suddenly told her to look toward the door. She did and saw the silhouette of a man standing in the doorway. There was a light switch right next to her bed, so she reached over and turned it on. The doorway was empty. Terrified, they called for their father. He came in and asked what was wrong. They told him what they had seen, but he brushed it off, saying it was probably just their eyes playing tricks on them. The next morning, my teacher went downstairs and saw her father sitting silently at the kitchen table, staring into nothing. She asked him what was wrong. He looked at her and said, "Was the man you saw?" "A tall man." She later said that every member of her family saw the same silhouette over the years. Always the same thing. They'd turn on a light and no one would be there. I've been creeped out ever since she told me. My dad answered. A voice outside, and no one was there. This story happened to my dad, and he's not the type to make things up. Even now, he can't tell it without getting goosebumps. About 6 months ago, my parents were staying at a friend's beach house for a short vacation. The friends had always mentioned the house next door, how it had gone through 5 different owners in just 3 years. The most recent owner had committed suicide only 3 weeks earlier. No one knew why. My parents arrived in the evening. Everything felt normal at first. They spent the day settling in, relaxing. Nothing unusual until they started getting ready for bed. That's when my dad smelled gas. He realized the pilot light had gone out, so he went outside to shut the gas off. The moment he stepped out, he said a deep sense of unease washed over him. He got chills. He felt watched, nervous for no reason he could explain. As he was turning the gas shut-off valve, he suddenly heard a voice behind him say, clearly, "What are you doing?" It sounded so real, so normal, that my dad instinctively answered, shutting off the gas. The second the words left his mouth, it hit him what he had just done. He froze. He turned around. No one was there. At first, he thought it had to be my mom. Panicked, he rushed back inside, only to find her in the bathroom, brushing her teeth. She hadn't left the room. My dad didn't sleep at all that night. By 3 a.m., they packed up and drove home. Later, they told their friends what happened. Their friends went pale. They told my parents the man who had lived next door, the one who committed suicide, had done it by gassing himself inside the house. To this day, my dad swears that voice was real, and I've never seen him that scared in my life.
Some stories don't end when the lights turn on. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.